Well, hey family, I'm gonna spend some time. Y'all know me. Y'all know I'm typically high energy. I'm going pretty fast and hard, and I'm always smiling and bringing the word that way. That's my style. That's the way that God has intended it for me. But today I'm gonna slow the pace down a little bit. I'm gonna slow the pace down a little bit. I'm gonna spend a little bit more time just kind of having a conversation with you guys, just really getting into the word a little bit, as well as just more of a teaching today, that the Father has really given me. So I need you guys to be attentive. I need you to be in this. I need you to talk back to me a little bit, but I just want to make sure we're having a good conversation. Pastor came to us a little while ago. Elder Carolyn talked about why are we here. She talked a little bit about the help that comes from the hills that from which we need to look, and that's God. And in those moments while we're here, we need to assure that we're looking in the right direction towards Him. Pastor came back and talked about purpose, talked about it and how Nehemiah in his purpose and all of what it was for him and how we need to continue to walk in our own purpose. Well, I'm going to share a little bit on that same line, but just in a little bit different way. And I really want to talk about purpose, but from a different perspective, So I'm going to share with you guys today, and hopefully you can see my screen and all of that good stuff. But sometimes with purpose, there are people who do know exactly what it is that they're supposed to do. You see them all the time. You know them. You know those people like Pastor Cedric White or like Elder Carolyn Williams who know their purpose. They know exactly what they're supposed to be doing, and they're out there doing it and giving out all of their being to that purpose. And then when they get exhausted, they get recharged and they go back out and they do that same thing in building their purpose and going and operating in a purpose. That is a fantastic thing. I'm so glad when I got people around me that know that and feel that and are already there. Sometimes people don't know. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard a scenario or you've heard a sermon about people looking for their purpose, not knowing for sure what they're supposed to be doing. Why am I here? Right? As the question has come up. But where I'm going to talk today and live at and land at is on those who possibly lost their purpose. You see, sometimes we know our purpose and we're walking in it and we're doing a really good job at it, but somewhere along the way, the path we veer off. And maybe our purpose gets a little fuzzy and we think we get back on track, but we still seem to be veering off, and you find yourself somewhere lost without your purpose. So if that's you today, then this message is to you today. If you are not that person that's there, maybe you have been at one point. Maybe this is an opportunity for you to help somebody else that may be sitting in that space. But rest assured, there are a lot of us that are sitting in this space. Don't get it twisted. There's a lot of us faking it. Okay? There's a lot of us saying that they know and that they're sure, but they really aren't, right? So I need you to dig in today. I need you to search deep into your spirit, into your soul, into your being, and find out where you are. And if this is hitting home, embrace it. Don't run from it. Don't be scared of it. Don't hide from it, okay? All right. So the question is, why are you here? Why are you here? Now, we've talked about why are you here as a general purpose of who you are in this world and what God has called you to do and what His purpose is for all of us. But I'm not talking about why are you here in a general sense today. I'm talking about why are you here, like right now, like in this moment. What has brought you to this very spot? Why are you here? And for a lot of us, the answer might be, I don't know. I'm not quite sure why I'm here in this spot. I've made some decisions in my life. I thought I made the right decisions, but somehow I find myself over in this spot right here that I don't even know how I got here. Yes, I married the guy of my dreams, but somehow it ended in divorce. Why am I here? I put all of my effort into my schooling and I got the degrees. And when I got out of college, I couldn't find a job. Why am I here? I got that job that I thought I wanted and I worked hard at it and I had all the political connections and I did everything they told me to do. But yet it's still, I just got laid off. Why am I here? And some of those questions, put your own scenario in it. A lot of the time, the answer is, I don't know. I don't know. And so what I want to talk to us about today, and this is just as much as me ministering to me as it is to you, is that when we don't know, we need to first figure out what it is that's driving the I don't know. See, I'm going to talk to you about a few different reasons why I think people fall into this category where they get a little bit lost. I personally have felt some of these particular scenarios, and maybe you have too. But what we want to try to do today is we're going to try to walk through some of these scenarios and then figure out what it is I can do to take the step to get back, to get my purpose back. So if you're in for that, tell me in chat, okay? Because that's where we're going today. The first thing that I want to talk to you guys about, and possibly is a reason. Now, you might not identify with all of these, but you might identify with some. A possible reason why you answer that question as I don't know is because of this thing, what I like to call, and I've read, is circumstance orchestration. I'm gonna play some videos for y'all today. So y'all gonna hear from a few different voices outside of Minister Modes today. People who are dealing with this right now at this time, people who have went through these different things and how they've kind of overcome some of them as well. The scriptures are off to the left and where you should probably land when you think about some of this circumstance orchestration. But let me tell you what circumstance orchestration means to me. It means that you are trying and choosing to handle circumstances based on your own understanding. That means you're trying to dictate what happens in your life. If you're a believer, if you're a follower of Christ, we have to start to think through this differently. We have to say, I am not in control of these circumstances. I have to allow God to control my circumstance. So when you think about an orchestra, a symphony, all of that conductor up front, that orchestration, that when you're reading the notes, and your tuba comes in at a certain time, your flute plays at a certain time, you hit the cymbal at a certain time. That orchestration of life on those very minute details has to come from God. How are you allowing God to control your circumstances currently in your life today? Do you give him just a little bit of that leeway? Hey, Lord, you can play in this area right here, right? I'm okay with you controlling those circumstances on Sunday when I want to play my praise and worship music and I go to church. You can control those circumstances, but on Monday morning when I got that 9 a.m. meeting, or better yet, an 8 a.m. meeting on a Monday, am I allowing you to control that? Or do I take that into my own hands? You see, sometimes when we feel lost, we're starting to do too many things in our own power. And then we look up some point and say, how did I get here? Okay, so what I'm asking you to do is to roll this back a little bit. think about it from a different context. When you wake up every day, say this: God, control the circumstances of my day. If it ain't the first thing you say, make it the second thing you say. First thing you say, thank you, Lord, for giving me another opportunity. You woke me up again. I got a smile on my face. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But Lord, today, please control the circumstances of my day. Don't let me control them. You handle them. Because that meeting will go smoother. They'll give you a break. The meeting will get canceled that you didn't want to go to that day. But allow God to control the circumstance. Take a listen to Lavinia here. She's got the right idea of how to let God control your circumstances. Take a listen.
Shortly after I gave my heart to the Lord began to impress in me to share with others that he loved them. And so it would happen randomly, like different places, like the grocery store or a restaurant or a parking lot. And I would tell them that he loved them. But their response was interesting. They would say, oh, thank you, or not say anything at all. And sometimes it seemed like they didn't believe me. And so that concerned me. And so I prayed about it. And I asked the Lord, I said, if this is what you want me to share with people, that you love them, I'm asking you, Lord, to impress it in their hearts in such a way that it makes a difference in their lives, that they believe it when I tell them. Shortly after, one day I was driving and I saw a man on the road, and he was this huge man. He was really big. He was tall and he had muscles all over, and his head was bald, and he was just so big that he was scary to me. And as I was driving, the Lord impressed in my heart to tell him that he loved him. I said, I don't know, Lord, I don't think so. And I said, Lord, if you really want me to do this, then he'll be there when I come back around the corner. I was just kind of arguing with God back and forth on this. So I went around the corner, and sure enough, he was there. And as I drove up to him, I unrolled my window and I said, excuse me, sir. And he bent down. This huge, huge guy bends over into my window. And I said, the Lord wants me to tell you that he loves you and that you are of great value to him. And when I told him that, this huge, huge man just broke down and started crying, just sobbing. And he said, you just don't understand. I was just asking God if he loved me. And here I stopped and told him the answer. I cried. I cried because God used me to touch somebody else's life where it meant so much to them. It made me cry to experience that and to know that God was using me in this small way. He was using me to touch someone else. I realized that for me, that this was a time for me to be obedient to God, to continue to be obedient, that when he impresses in my heart to tell someone that he loves them, that I really need to do it and that he is working in their lives.
So hopefully that illustration gives you guys thought process when I talk about circumstance orchestration. Even in that midst where you just don't know from day to day what it's going to take for somebody else. So when you allow him to orchestrate your day, your moments, your minutes, your seconds, powerful stories like that come forth. So what I urge you is, if you've lost it, if you can't figure out your pathway back, start to allow him to orchestrate your circumstances. Another area that you might feel struggling with is that you might just be flat out stuck in the spot that you're in. When you feel like there's no direction, when you aren't quite sure what God's plan is anymore, and maybe even what your own plan is anymore, right? That's that level of feeling stuck, right? You've had so many people tell you about what you should do next or what's the right thing to do, and you've used those things over time to help you get to where you are, right? But at some point in our lives, in all of our lives, there is a point where there isn't anyone telling you what's next, what you should be doing next, right? When you get through all of your schooling and you get finished with all of that, and then it's time to get out here in the world, sometimes our young people feel stuck. They don't know what the next thing to do is, because there isn't a next grade. There isn't a 15th grade, a 16th grade. You find people who look at keep going to school because they don't know what else to do. They are stuck. But sometime at some point, we got to get out here and decide what's next. So what I say to you, if you are one of those who are feeling stuck, take a look at Psalm 37:23, because every step of a righteous man is ordered by God. But I also will tell you, turn your hazard lights on. Okay? See, so if you're a driver, and I think most of us are drivers, at some point, we've all been stuck on the side of the road. Come on with it, right? And sometimes it's been in broad daylight. Sometimes it's been in the pitch black darkness, okay? But one of the first things they always teach you to do is to turn your hazard lights on. What does that indicate? What do those hazard lights indicate? I'm in distress. I have a challenge. I need help. Okay. And for a lot of us, when we're stuck, we don't turn the hazards on. We try to sit there in the car. Imagine at pitch black, no lights, with no hazard on. The car's just whizzing by you. They don't know that you're stuck. They don't know that you even need help. Okay. So what I'm saying to you is that you have to turn the hazard lights on. For those people who are around you and they know you, they might sense some things about you. But if I don't make a clear indication to them that I am stuck, they may not come. You see, Lord sends people when you're stuck to help you out of the mud, okay? Who's been stuck in the mud? Who's been stuck in a ditch? Who's been stuck in the snow? Okay, I've been in all those situations. And what always happens, you turn the hazard light on, and immediately there's going to be some people who drive by you. Trust them. They will. They will keep going. They might have something else. They're not sent for you. The person who stops is the person that is sent for you, and he's sent from you from your heavenly Father to help you in that moment. You cannot get unstuck out of the mud by yourself. Try it. It won't work. Wheels is just spinning. You ain't going nowhere. Okay? But what I am telling you is that when that person comes to help, they might have to get behind you. Come on, y'all. I'm preaching to me. Okay? They might have to get behind you and push you out of that situation. Oh, when you're stuck, I know you don't want to hear that. You don't want the push. Okay? Because you're stuck in that spot and you're not quite sure. But what is required is the push. And if you are the push for somebody else, then do it. Don't worry about if they're upset about it or not. You have to be the push. I have to be the push sometimes for my family, for the people around me, for those who need to push me. I'm asking them to push, even if I don't like it. So if you're stuck, turn on your hazard lights. Allow the resources around you to step up and push you out of that space. And then after after you get out of that space and take that very next step, ask them to stay with you until you're sure. Tell them to keep guiding you until you're sure. You see, that's the other thing that happens when you get pushed out of the mud. A lot of people will say, hey, man, you want me to ride behind you for a little bit of time? You want me to, ride with you? Do you need anybody to call in front ahead of you to let them know you're coming? All of that stuff is what you need to start asking people. Hey, I'm not quite sure yet. I'm getting my footing. I think I can take the next step, but stay with me until I'm sure. Stay with me until I'm sure. Take a listen to someone who's dealing with this. Young people, take a listen.
Going through college, I didn't really have much of a plan, in all honesty. I started out in nursing and then transitioned to ministry and then counseling. And I finally settled on a major because everyone told me that it was something I'd be good at. I wound up taking a job in medical recruiting. As the months went by, it got difficult going every single day. And my boss would ask how I was doing and check in on me. And I always tried to be upbeat and tell her that I was doing great, but inside I really wasn't. About 6-8 months in, I started having these anxiety attacks because I wasn't happy and it wasn't my passion and it wasn't where my heart was at. And that was difficult for me because I've never really had a passion in the first place. So I didn't really know where to look or even where to start as far as finding something else. And so my time with the Lord started to suffer. I really wasn't reading, praying, spending time with the Lord, having quiet time. It just wasn't something that was appealing to me, and everything felt kind of empty at that point. It got to a point one day where my boss asked me how I was feeling, and I was really honest with her that I just was not happy there and I couldn't continue. I gave her some notice, a few months to find a replacement, and I started to disconnect from the work that I was doing, disconnect from my coworkers, disconnect from everything. And so that resulted in me actually being let go ahead of the time that I was supposed to leave that job. And the time of not having work during that time was really when I got to spend time with the Lord, because I had kind of undivided attention. So it allowed me to really learn what it is to be still, having that time to read and pray and study. And the more I did that, the more peace I started to feel, even though my circumstances were kind of all over the place. I still had no idea where I was going. I still had no idea what the Lord had for me. I went through college and I felt paralyzed. And then I went through a year and a half of working. And at the end of it, I felt the exact same way. And right now I'm in a place where the Lord is starting to make things a little bit more clear, but it's still also hazy. But I think that the Lord has been so faithful, and he has worked so well in supplying me with peace and contentment, even though I'm not sure. So it makes things a little bit easier to deal with, even though I still don't really have a plan or idea of what's coming next.
So even if you still feel like you're not there, take steps. You saw and heard her say that she still is struggling. It's still a battle. That's okay. Have resources, rely on God, and move forward one step at a time. Possibly what you're dealing with could be obedience versus obligation. This is a big one for me. You see, oftentimes we get stuck in just what we are obligated to do. Coming up for me, we came up in survival mode. That's how I was raised. We had to survive. That's how I taught my children. We have to survive. So when you get into survival mode, sometimes what happens in survival mode is you take on a lot of different things. And then sometimes that in that survival mode, you get obligated to some of those things, right? And you really didn't want to take that on to begin with, but you took it on because you had to, right? And so sometimes that starts to put us in a bad situation, and we get out of the line of obedience to what God has called us to do into more of an obligatory type of response. So for this scenario, I'm really saying obligation is saying you're doing something based on something or someone other than God. Someone's told you that you should be doing a certain thing, or you thought that was the right thing to do out of your own mindset, but it was not, because it did not come from him. Obedience says you're doing everything based on what God is calling you to do at that time. Why are you here? If you've been obedient, it's because that's where he wants you to be. But sometimes we get into the obligatory stage and sometimes we get lost in doing what we're supposed to do. Right? As we go through life and things start to change in our lives, we need to start thinking about what it is that God is guiding us to. We have to stop being someone else that someone else wants us to be. We have to remember who we are in God ourselves specifically, not because of somebody else's thoughts, not because of someone else thinks of me, etc. We have to get to that point. And when you get out of survival mode into another mode of, you know what, I don't have to just necessarily survive anymore. I'm in a different spot in my life. My kids are grown and those different things are happening. I don't have to just be trying to survive. I need to be thinking about what it is that God's calling me to specifically. And making that switch is not an easy thing. But what I will tell you is got to be still and listen for a while. Being still and being stuck ain't the same thing. See, I need to be still in order so I can hear to make the next step. Sometimes being stuck is just, I'm just spinning. I need a little push. Okay? But dial into the frequency and the tone in which you hear God's voice. That's what I'm asking you all to do. You need to march to the rhythm of his voice. You see, what I want to tell you here is that we can all march to our own drum beat, but still be in rhythm. We can march to our own drum beat and still be in rhythm with the entire group, with the entire body, with the Heart Fellowship family, with your own family. Just because your rhythm is a little, your beat is different, that's because you tuned into what God is telling you to do. But that is the perfect rhythm for your family. So I tell my family, my children, march to your beat. Hear your daddy when he tells you it's coming straight from God. March to your rhythm. He gave it to you, not me, not your mom, not anyone. I'm talking to my children. If this makes sense to yours, tell them to listen. March to your beat, your rhythm. I can't tell you what that is. He can. I need you to listen to it. Dial out everything else. We are not in survival mode anymore. You have resources. Go forward. Listen to his rhythm for you. Do not sacrifice all of your time doing obligatory things. We've made that sacrifice already for you guys. A lot of parents have done that exact same thing. We've done all of the obligatory stuff. You have an opportunity to be obedient to the call in which God has given each and every one of you. There's no obligations. Be obedient to the rhythm of the call. For some of us, we just simply cannot say this word. You just can't say no to stuff. And you get lost because you simply are taking on way too much. I don't know where you are in your life. Some people young, old, middle age, whatever, but I think we all went in this stage of, I just simply can't say no. And when you can't do that, when you are stuck in that spot, what happens is that you start to take on things that are not meant for you. You take it all on. God's gifts are for you directly and only you. Rest assured that his grace is only exemplified through your gifts. The way his grace is shown through your gifts is specific. It is not like anyone else's. Somebody sees the grace of God through you in a different way because of the gifts that he's given you specifically, not me. So what happens? We are here to make disciples. We are here to further his kingdom. If we are not operating in our gifts and people don't get to see them, we miss opportunities to further the kingdom, even without you opening your mouth. The gifts that you have, the grace that he shows, is exemplified through our actions and operating in our specific gifts. Hard work. Not going to sugarcoat it. Hard work for me. See, I like to try to help in every area. I'm what you might call one of those jack of all trades type of dudes. I'm probably going to be pretty decent or good in most things that I try to do. God's given me that. But what he's trying to tell me is that, Mo, you got to dial it in. So what I'm asking and telling you guys here is take a listen to this video, but then write down those 5 things that God gave you and he didn't give to nobody else. Those are those 5 things that you are just really, really good at. Write them down. But then also take a listen to this lady and this author and take a couple more notes on what you possibly could do when you can't say no.
In 2009, I hit rock bottom. There was so much stuff going on in my life. I just had my 3rd child. I was in the middle of postpartum depression. My husband had just started his own law firm, and we had a 5-year-old, a toddler, and I was trying to run 3 different blogs, one of which had just exploded and was requiring more than 40 hours of work a week. I was exhausted. I was spent. I was just burnt out and wrung out. And yet I kept piling things on my plate. I kept saying, yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll do that. Because I didn't want anybody to know how I was crumbling inside. I didn't want anybody to know how bad it had gotten. And I was scared. I wanted everyone to just think, it's all good. So I'd put on that plastic smile and I'd say, yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll do that. Well, it finally just got so bad that my health began to deteriorate. My marriage was on the rocks and our home was in chaos. And I knew that I could not keep living like this. So I came to my husband one day and I said, honey, I'm done. I cannot go on like this. I can't survive. This is not working. And I expected my husband to say to me, oh, honey, you're doing such a good job. Just keep at it. Just keep at it. That's not what he said. He said to me, you're bringing this on yourself. Well, I wasn't very happy to hear that because, I wanted those reassuring words. And I was a little angry at him, actually. But as I processed it over the next 24 hours, I realized, he was right. He was right. I was bringing this on myself. I didn't need to say yes to that and yes to that and yes to that. I was feeling obligated to all these other people, and I didn't need to be doing all those things. And so it began a journey for me over the next year of just really saying goodbye to survival mode, of really figuring out what are my priorities? What has God called me to do? And what can only I do? And what do I need to say no to? Because I realized that I was the problem, but I was also the solution. And that gave me a lot of hope because I realized that, I could say no. There were 3 things that I did that made a huge impact. One was to stop the madness. I had to start saying no. I had to think about what are my priorities? What's going to matter in 25 years from now? Wrap my life around those things. Stick to those things and say no to everything else. Delegate, delete, and be okay with not doing it all, because no one can do it all. I also had to streamline my life and really focus on that which was going to matter. I created what I call a best stuff list. These are just the 5 things that only I am called to do. And then everything that comes to me, I examine it in light of those things. And if it's not something that goes in line with my best stuff, I don't do it. And also, I had to set small goals. You know, a lot of times we think, well, we want to change our life and I want to be over there right now. But that's not how it works. You can't climb a mountain in one big jump. You have to take it one step at a time. And so that's what I did. I had to just focus on those small goals. Think where I wanted to be in 6 months from now, where I wanted to be in a year from now, and then break it down into bite-sized pieces. And just, take that 6-month goal, break it into a monthly goal, and then a weekly goal, and then a daily goal. And that was much, I think, okay, I can do that. And so just focus on that small goal and keep plodding along and realize that moving forward, even at a microscopic rate, is still moving forward. And so to celebrate that success, even if it was really small, because it's so easy to focus on what we're not getting done instead of to focus on what we are actually doing. And so to be encouraged and to give myself grace and to just keep at it.
She said some really poignant things around there. Think about the things that are going to matter in 25 years from now. Oh my God. Just that. What's going to matter 25 years from now for you and your family? That's how you get back to your purpose. That's how you get back. The next thing that I thought about here is, if look good, feel good is the only good you are doing. Okay, so if look good and feel good is the only good you are doing. See, we get caught up in our emotions a lot, how I feel about a certain thing, how it looks to me, to the outside world, and to anybody around me that I either has influence in my life or that I want to impress. And sometimes when you get caught up in look good, feel good, you get off path because this is not where you're supposed to be. If your primary concern is that, then you'll lose your way in a specific situation. See, look good, feel good is okay, but it can't be the only good. You have to start doing things that are good for other people. If you've lost your way, start doing things that are good for others. It is one of the most direct ways to find your way again. Because if that purpose is gone and you're like, I feel like I can't find my way. I feel like I'm doing the right things. I feel like I'm a little tired of this. I feel like I don't know what to do next. I feel all of that. If you keep doing that, stop. And what I'm asking you to do is go do some good for someone else. I'm not telling you exactly what that is. It might be simply ringing the phone for somebody. It might be telling someone that God loves them. It might be volunteering in a space that you feel passionate about. It might just be giving of your time or switching shifts with somebody because they need to go do something in their lives. But whatever it is, start doing good for other people if you feel a little bit lost. See, even as we get older in our age and we feel like we've fulfilled our purpose, we can get lost. I'm talking to my seniors. I'm talking to my family who's older in age, when they've done all of what they thought they were supposed to do in terms of raising the kids and all of that stuff. I'm talking to my mom. Okay. What I'm saying is that at some point, we still have to realize we have purpose. And doing good for others will help you find your way when you think you've finished the race. We're not finished yet. We're not finished until he takes us home. You still have use and purpose on this planet. And sometimes, even if your loved one or your mate has gone before you, you feel like there's nothing left. You get a little lost. What I'm telling you is just throw yourself into doing good for others. That will help you get back on mission. Listen to Lecrae. He talks a little bit about living life on mission.
As a business person, entrepreneur, as an artist, being able to live my life on mission has to be priority. I navigate in so many different worlds, and success for me is being all that God has called me to be. Is doing what only I can specifically do in light of God's kingdom and God's agenda. And so I think that requires my life to be missional. So I don't look at mission as something I do. I look at mission as my existence. I'm here on this planet as an ambassador. And that's, at the end of the day, I want to hear, well done, good and faithful servant. And so for me, the way I think is beneficial in terms of leading people in being missional in whatever opportunity they have is one, is demonstrating it. I think it's very crucial for us to actually function as living, breathing missionaries as we're trying to teach people what that looks like. You know, you hear the story of the fisherman, and he goes out and he catches a big fish, and everyone's like, whoa, you caught a fish. And now he spends most of his time teaching other people and telling other people how he once caught this massive fish. And everyone's listening to him talk about fishing, and he's talking about fishing, and no one's actually fishing. And so it's beneficial for him to actually be out there engaged in doing it. And for me, it's beneficial for me to actually be out there engaged in doing it so people can see it, you know, more so than just me always articulating, hey, here's how you do it in business. Here's how you do it over here. Here's how you do it over here. But for people to see tangible examples. When we see Paul in the scriptures, we can see the stories of him navigating through culture, and the story on Mars Hill is so big for missionaries because it's us seeing Paul in action and not just hearing him give a dissertation on how to engage his workplace or so on and so forth. And so practically, if I did have to tell somebody, I think it would definitely be engaging. Engagement is going to be step number one. Is are you engaging the people around you in the business world, in your homes, in your communities? Are you having real engagement and understanding their values and their ideals and what matters to them and what doesn't matter to them and what they're reading and what they care about? Because if you understand that, you can show a genuine care and concern for them, and you can also figure out where gospel penetration may need to happen, taking every opportunity and looking at those opportunities and saying, okay, God, how do you want to get glory here? In the hecticness and the busyness of everything, can I be led by the Spirit? Do I see opportunities for truth to prevail and for God to be glorified in these particular circumstances? And I think having good business ethics is very missional, and just functioning with integrity. I think making good art, and when I mean good, just technically demonstrating that the passion and the hard work are things that God endorses. And then lastly, I think articulating in every aspect of what I do a biblical worldview so that people can see that there's a different guideline. Something else is shaping my thoughts, my words, my articulation. And that ultimately leads to the gospel. And that's why I see the world with this lens and I function this way, because the gospel has literally made me a new person.
So many great thoughts there. So many different things that he talked about living on mission and making sure you give God glory in those things. I hope these videos are helping and penetrating and giving you ideas of how to actually circumvent some of these things that you might be struggling with. I ask that you stay with me. I'm landing soon. But one last thing that I want to share with you is that sometimes we're out looking for his will when he has already shown it to us. See, I hear a lot in just counseling people or just having conversations that they want to know the will of God in their lives. And I just want to understand what God's will is for me personally. And what God is already telling you is that I've already given you everything you need to know. He's already revealed to you what you're good at, your gifts. His will is to see you use them for his service. I got a new grandbaby. Her name is Layla. She's precious, precious. And we were there, thank God, for when she was born. And a few days after she came home, we weren't actually there in the hospital, but the first time I held her, I just watched her breathe. I just watched her breathe. And in that moment, I was so in love with her. And she had never uttered a word. She never said G-pop to me or anything. But I was in love with her from the moment I saw her breathe. I just watched her breathing. Okay. And in that moment, I realized something. I realized that God sees me the same way. See, he takes joy in just seeing me breathing and doing the things that he has designed me to do. He's like, yes, son, that's it. Those are the things I want you to do. So happy when I see you doing them. And when I'm still on this planet and I'm breathing, he is taking joy in that too. But he's given me things in my life. He's given me strengths, things that I'm very good at. He's given those things to me specifically for me to live them out. So I don't need to look. I don't need to be looking for what his will is. I already know what it is. So what I'm asking you all to do is to stop looking for his will, start living his will for you. He will allow his will to come through the manifestation of his words in his Bible, in his words. But sink yourself into those things that he has given you as gifts. Stop spending energy looking for something that's there and immerse yourself in it. What does immersion mean? That means full in. Don't dip your toe in the water. What's happening is God is in the water saying, it is warm, son. It is warm, daughter. Come in. What are you doing? You're looking at the temperature. You're trying to make sure that there's nothing in the water. You want to know how deep it is. You want to go ask the guy to clean it a little bit more. You don't got on the right swimsuit. I need my sunglasses. I need a hat on my head. Where's the sunblock? He's telling you, come in the water. Jump in the water. Immerse yourself in what it is I've given you, your talents. Immerse yourself. Stop thinking, doing all of that other stuff. I got you. Jump in. Immersion of yourself. So what do I mean by that? Take a listen here and tell me how it is that she's found a way to immerse herself in what God has given her.
Do you have something in your life that you feel like this is something that I wanted to do, and maybe God has put a desire in me to reach others for Christ? The first thing you need to do is to consider, what skills do I have? What do I have inside me that can maybe be used by God? And so many times, we think of ourselves like, oh, I love this person because they're a musician, or I love this person because they're an artist, but we don't have those own skills. So think about, what skills do I have and what can I use? And I loved reading. I grew up loving to read. I loved everything about books. Even in high school, I won a couple of essay contests. So it showed me that that was something that God put inside me. I love reading. I love talking about literature with my friends. So when my friend said, would you be, she told me that she was interested in writing. I thought maybe that is something that I could do too. So that was skills that I identified in myself that I knew God had put in me. It was desires that were already in my heart. Once you know your skills and what God has put in you, then become a willing learner. You know, it's one thing to have a desire to do something. It's another thing to know exactly what you need to do. And so I checked out books from the library on writing. I went to writers' conferences. I connected with other people there and got information from them. And I just became a willing learner. I became someone that said, you know what, even if it takes 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, I want to learn what it means to write and to write well. And I took those steps to get there. And I started writing and getting rejected and writing some more. But becoming a willing learner really made me understand where I needed to be. And then I gathered people around me. I gathered others around me who I knew that wanted to write. I met a lot of these amazing women at writers' conferences, and all of us were on this journey together. And so we joined an online prayer group, and we started praying for each other and reaching out to each other and encouraging each other. And, you know, sometimes when we have a dream or we're working at something, if we do it by ourselves, we get so discouraged and we think, I can't do this. I might as well just give up. And those times when I got discouraged, I had these other women around me that just reached out to me and supported me and cared for me. And it made all the difference. It made me continue going. And it's amazing because there's 15 of us when we first started this online prayer group, and all of us are published authors now. And I truly believe it was because we came together. And then the last thing, while you're going on the writing journey, don't get too discouraged. Realize that it's a process, and all of us will make mistakes, and all of us will learn from those mistakes. The first years of writing, I got rejection after rejection after rejection. And there was times I could have been so discouraged, but God just reminded me that He put this in me. He put the desire in me, and He also brought other people to encourage me. And so really, don't get too discouraged. You're not going to be an overnight success. Those overnight successes probably took 10, 15, 20 years to get there, but just realize that God has a plan and a purpose for you, and He wants you to use that for His glory. You know, just think about King David. He loved to play his harp, and he loved to just worship God. And because he was able to use those skills and his desire, now today we have the Psalm. So just think about how God can use your skills to reach out to other people, but you just have to keep on the path and keep striving and seeking Him, and He will help you.
Well, family, I thought there was so many good things there. Is that when I talked about immersing yourself in something, she put herself around people who were like-minded, did the things that she loved, wanted to do the things that she loved. How many of you are doing that today? Look at your circle, find your circle. How many people are doing what it is that you're passionate about? Are you finding people or groups or different resources that can identify with your passion? Put yourself around them. They don't have to be around them every day, but you have to find ways to be in the space in which you want to operate in. Okay, so look it up. There's groups everywhere around different things. Whatever it is that you may be, Google search it. Find a way to put yourself, immerse yourself in those things that you are passionate about. And if you are lost, you will find your way back. I'll close with this video here as a reminder that if you are lost and you need to help find your way back, there's only one way.
He is here in this room, in your heart. He is near, nearer than breath, heartbeats, nearer than you are to you, nearer than second chance or next opportunity, closer than tonight or yesterday. He is real, realer than touch, see, hear, smell, or taste, realer than reality. He is our reality, realer than joy, pain, sorrow, realer than the love of being in love. He is present like time, space, wind, silence, night. He is waiting like creation, like words on the tip of tongue, like songs that have yet to be sung. He is beauty, oranges, blues, every hue, every shade, sunset and sunrise. Whisper his name. He is holy, different, made human, became human, forgave human. He is spirit. He cannot be touched, explains like sweet seconds of prayers, like grandmother on knees, wood floor bare. He is son, distinctly three, distinctly one, the only wise, the only resurrector of lives. He is king. No earthly throne can house, no amount of elegant words can espouse. He is moments and voice, power of choice, in word and deed, in fruit and seed, pierced side, nailed hands, nailed feet, innocent wounds that bleed. He is believe and trust. He is enough. He is all. He is call and purpose. Everything that we can sacrifice, he's worth it and more, much more. Our good deeds are mere pennies. We'll never even the score. He is behold and wow. He is who, what, when, why, how. He puts on the show. He's the one we come to see. He is soul's cry and sinners plea. He is the epitome. He's the one no one can light a candle to or come within a 1,000,000-foot pole of. He is above. He is a father's love. He is maker of ways, of earth and wind. Ancient of days, has no fear. Have no fear. God is here.
So family, I just want to end by saying that if you lost, you're not quite sure anymore, he is here. He is here. He is the only way. He is the only answer. He will never forsake you or leave you. He will always be who he is to us all. I have no other words to say but to tell you all that despite the way it might feel, he is here to help you, guide you back to that spot. I'll close with this and say that one day I was driving home. It was at that point, I felt like one of the best days of my life. I had just got the best commission check that I had ever gotten in my life. It was a snowy day in Illinois, and I was driving home. Drove this path so many times and never, I could drive it in my sleep. I took the time to go through the toll, and my exit started to veer to the right. But it was one of those exits where it was two different exits that could go right or left, and I realized I was in the wrong lane. I've changed lanes very rapidly. And what I hit was what I call black ice. Now, for y'all South folks, y'all don't know what black ice is, but black ice is like a sheet of ice you don't know is there, and it is dangerous and treacherous. On a day that I felt like was one of the best days of my life, I found myself on a freeway, 5-lane freeway, spent turning in the wrong direction. Imagine looking back at the cars coming at you. The cars were coming at me. I was turned in that direction. My car was spinning. It felt like the longest time in my life. It was like the movie Walking Through It in slow motion. I could see cars coming directly at me, some whizzing by me on the right or the left-hand side. But what I will tell you, in that moment when I thought I was on course, where I was happy, full of joy, that God turned me in that spot. I glided across 5 lanes of traffic untouched. I had no control over the wheel. The brake didn't work, but he guided me through 5 lanes of traffic, only to hit the median on the end of the road. So what I'm saying to you guys is that sometimes, even in our best times, we might be off track. Even if we feel like we might be on track, God is there to tell you, you know what, son? I need to turn you around. I need to move you in a different direction. And I need you to see that I am in control. And yes, I'm going to smash you up against a median. I'm going to smash you up against a median, but for your good. Because see, I'm so thankful that he hit me with the median instead of another one of those cars. I'm so thankful that I didn't slide into traffic coming in the other direction. Sometimes we need to embrace the median in our lives and make sure that we're listening and focused in on what God is calling us to do. I hope this touched somebody today. I hope this was helpful for somebody that might have been lost. I pray if you are a resource for somebody that could be lost, that you are willing to help them in this time. Hopefully you have now some tools that can help you in that time frame. But the one thing that's the most critical element is God and knowing Jesus as our Savior. And I will tell you that it has to start there. So for anyone listening to me live or on the recording, if it is that you do not know who Christ is, put it in the chat. Send us an email at info@heartfellowship.church, or get it right in your heart to confess with your mouth and believe with your heart that he is our risen Savior. That starts you on that path, that journey that he can only drive. See, we're just co-piloting in this thing. He drives, but you get to turn the wheel over to him when you decide to believe that he is your Lord and Savior.